Students, I welcome you in my channel. I am Sanju Jhajharia, Assistant Professor of English at Government College Ratangad. Today we will study Alfred Tennyson's poem Tears, Idle Tears. And I am going to divide this lecture into two sections. First is introductory section, in which I will provide introduction of the poem and summary of the poem. And in next video, I will give explanation of this poem. And this poem is included in B.A.Part 2nd by MGS University Bikaner. So first of all, introduction of the poem. As you know, Alfred Tennyson is the poet of this poem. Tears, Idle Tears is a lyric poem written in 1847 by Alfred Tennyson. Alfred Tennyson was born in 1809 and died in 1892. The Victorian era English poet, published as one of the songs in his The Princess, and The Princess was published in 1847. It is regarded for the quality of its lyrics. A Tennyson anthology describes the poem as one of the most Virgilian of Tennyson's poems and perhaps his most famous lyric. Readers often overlook the poem's blank verse. The poem does not rhyme. Tennyson was inspired to write Tears, Idle Tears upon a visit to Tintern Abbey in Monmouthshire, an abbey that was abandoned in 1536. He said the convent was full for me of its bygone memories and that the poem was about the passion of the past, the abiding in the transient. Means he was remembering his past, and as the days are transitory. William Wordsworth also wrote a poem inspired by this location in 1798, Tintern Abbey, which develops a similar theme. While Tintern Abbey may have prompted the poem, it seems unlikely that its powerful emotion derives only from a generalized feeling for the past. The final stanza in particular strongly suggests Tennyson's unhappy attachment to the lovely Rosa Baring, whose wealthy family lived in Harrington Hall, a short distance from Tennyson's Somersby. Rosa's family evidently disapproved of Rosa's continued relationship with the son of Somersby's alcoholic clergyman, and she ultimately severed the connection. The kisses by hopeless fancy feigned on lips that are for others, and the cry de coeur, deep as first love and wild with all regret, seem to have little to do with Tintern Abbey and much to do with a personal disappointment in love. Ralph Wilson Reader Tennyson's Mode, and it is taken from the biographical Genesis, which was published in 1963. Tears, Idle Tears is noted for its lyric richness and for its tones of paradox and ambiguity. Ambiguity means confusing, especially and difficulty also, especially as Tennyson did not often bring his doubts into the grammar and symbolism of his works. The ambiguity occurs in the contrasting descriptions of the tears. They are idle yet come from deep within the narrator. The happy autumn fields inspire sadness. Literary critic Kenneth Brooks writes, when the poet is able, as in Tears, Idle Tears, to analyze his experience, and in the full light of the disparity and even apparent contradiction of the various elements, bring them into a new unity, he secures not only richness and depth but dramatic power as well. Critic Graham, who in a 1953 essay asks why the poem is unrhymed and suggests that something must be very skillfully put in rhyme's place. If many readers do not notice its absence, he concludes that Tears, Idle Tears does not rhyme because it is not about a specific situation or an emotion with clear boundaries. It is about the great reservoir of undifferentiated regret and sorrow, which you can brush away, but which nevertheless continues to exist. Readers tend not to notice the lack of rhyme because of the richness and variety of the vowel sounds Tennyson employs into the poem. T.S. Eliot considered Tennyson an unequaled master in handling vowel sounds. See, for example, Tennyson's Ulysses. Each line's end sound, except for the second last line's regret, is an open vowel or a consonant group that can be drawn out in reading. Each line trails away, suggesting a passage into some infinite beyond, just as each image is clear and precise, yet is only any instance of something more universal. The poem One of the Songs of the Princess. So it is extracted from The Princess and it was published in 1847. Has been set to music a number of times. Edward Lear put the lyric to music in the 19th century, and Ralph Vaughan Williams' pianistic setting of 1903 was described by the Times as one of the most beautiful settings in existence of Tennyson's splendid lyric. So this is the introduction of the poem, and now summary of the poem. So summary of the poem. The speaker sings of the baseless and inexplicable tears that rise in his heart and pour forth from his eyes. When he looks out on the fields, means he is remembering his past, and tears come into his heart and they are flowing through his eyes. When he looks out on the fields in autumn and thinks of the past, this past means the days that are no more, is described as fresh and strange. It is as fresh as the first beam of sunlight that sparkles, that glitters on the sail of a boat, bringing the dead back from the underworld. And in this way, it was bringing the people who are dead now in the present situation. And it is said and as the last red beam of sunlight that shines on a boat that carries the dead down to this underworld. The speaker then refers to the past as not fresh but sad and strange. As such, it resembles the song of the birds on early summer morning, as it sounds to a dead person who lies watching the glimmering square of sunlight as it appears through a square window. In the final stanza, the speaker declares the past to be dear, sweet, deep, and wild. It is as dear as the memory of the kisses of one who is now dead, and it is as sweet as those kisses that we imagine ourselves bestowing on lovers who actually have loyalties to others. So too is the past as deep as first love and as wild as the regret that usually follows this experience. The speaker concludes that the past is a death in life. And now the form of the poem. What is the form used in this poem? This poem is written in blank verse or unrhymed iambic pentameter. It consists of 4 5-line stanzas, each of which closes with the words, "the days that are no more." And now analysis of the poem. Tears, Idle Tears is a part of a larger poem called The Princess, as I have told before. It was published in 1847. Tennyson wrote The Princess to discuss the relationship between the sexes and to provide an argument for women's rights in higher education. However, the work as a whole does not present a single argument or tell a coherent story. Rather, like so much of Tennyson's poetry, it evokes complex emotions and moods through a mastery of language. Tears, Idle Tears, a particularly evocative section, is one of several interludes of songs in the midst of the poem. So, this was the analysis of the poem, and I think you understood it, and you should also read the poem. And in my next video, I will explain this poem. Thanks for watching this video.